Welcome back to Rusted Junk, the 80s Movies podcast. Do you find yourself wanting to put on a corked hat, fight crocodiles in the outback and then move to New York? How about befriending an alien by dressing him up as a ghost on Halloween? If so, this is the podcast for you. If you remember searching for that perfect film from Blockbuster, and if you grew up in the UK, waiting for that one VHS copy to be returned to the newsagents, then welcome. We'll have fond memories waiting for you. I'm Charlie, and the rest of the Rusted Junk team are Amanda.
Hello.
Joe.
How do you on?
And Dom.
Hello.
And the film we're looking at this time is the 1985 film Legend, starring Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, Tim Curry. I was about to say lots of others. There are lots of others, but we'll explain that. We'll have a look at that in roll call. Dom, as this is Lucky Dip, this is your film. Why did you choose it? And what's the memories behind it? And what was the reason for it?
Yeah, always an honour and a privilege to be able to choose a film for the pod. And took the opportunity to step out of our usual 1980s genre and discuss Legend, starring Tom Hardy in the 2015 biographical crime thriller about the rise and fall of British gangster. I've got that filed under opening gag. So
very good gag.
Gags are always best when you have to explain them. There is also a film called Legend about the Cray twins. If you could just edit the symbol crash in there, Charlie, that would be appreciated.
I'll put something in there, yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. So maybe that might find its way to the editing room floor. But anyway, so all my film choices this season are motivated by a desire to have an interesting discussion. I've tried to avoid stone cold classics or absolute turkeys, and I've tried to select films with maybe a range of opinions to be had. Perhaps where our memories of these films has been blurred by the passage of time, and it'll be interesting to revisit them. And I'll be honest, my recollection of this film was patchy, but my strongest memory was Tim Curry's performance as Darkness. It's such an iconic look, and for my money, still probably the best representation of a demon or the devil on screen. Absolutely fantastic performance. As a younger person in the 80s, I enjoyed the fantasy genre. So Tolkien, obviously, Choose Your Own Adventure series, Steve Jackson, Ian Livingstone's fighting fantasy books. So kind of the fantasy genre was something that I instinctively liked and supported. And look, those are my reasons for choosing Legend, and I stand by the choice. No spoilers, but I feel even if a movie has some issues, maybe even some glaring issues, then a fun discussion can still be had. So, cue the trailer.
Something really special that I've been promising to show you. Always go now, because I'll only be here for a short while.
Don't you trust me?
I trust you, Lily. Nothing is more magical. As long as they roam the earth, evil can never harm the pure of heart.
Okay, well, what did we all think of that?
Well, it was... it's not the best trailer in the world, but at least it shows you that you're in for some swashbuckling fantasy adventure type thing.
Was that the original trailer?
That was the trailer from 1985. Yeah. Did it
Where's
not look
the-
like it? I mean, if you watch it on YouTube, yeah, that's.
No, there's no 80s voiceover guy.
Well, he wasn't on everything, was he?
In a world.
Fairies.
Fairies and goblins. Yeah.
Oh well.
Unicorn.
We've all done. Dom, you've done your intro already. Do we find out what everyone else thinks of it?
Yeah, why don't we? So, Amanda, what I've been dying to know. What did you make of this film?
Right.
Without giving you a score, give us a
Okay.
sense, a flavour of what's to come.
No score until later.
Flavour.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I'd never seen this before. I didn't even know the film existed. Until you'd sort of selected it. And yeah, it's an interesting film, isn't it?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
I think it's code
It's-
4.
You said to me afterwards, right? I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You said to me afterwards, don't just tell it like it is on the podcast. And you said no because you'll hurt Dom's feelings.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm trying to be kind of careful what I do say. Yeah, it's not my kind of film, if I'm perfectly honest. I was expecting a lot more, especially with the cast and the fact that it was a Ridley Scott film. I just felt like it had been done by an A-level student. It didn't feel like it flowed particularly well. I can't get out of my head that Alf voice. I don't know what was going on there, whether he'd been sucking a helium balloon or something else. I was just, and he really didn't have any allegiance to anybody, as we'll sort of find out later on in the film towards the end. Yeah, it was all a bit weird, I think. Maybe I should have smoked some weed or something and it would have kind of made it a bit better. I don't know.
Well, as I say, I didn't choose this film because it's like a personal favourite. I chose it because I thought it'd be a good, fun discussion to be had.
It's not a personal
and
favourite.
How dare you go then? Right, it's open season.
Oh,
go for it.
okay, right. The gloves are off now then. Yeah, terrible. Awful film.
Well, this
seriously?
is where other opinions may be available. So, Joe,
Well,
I
we
know
have
you've been
to
looking forward to this
explain.
film. What's
We
your?
have to explain which version we watched, though, because
Yeah, we'll get into
clearly-
that after our opinions.
Right,
Yes,
okay,
There are
yeah.
there are 4 apparently.
Oh God, I couldn't sit through that 4 times.
Anyway, Joe, sorry.
That's funny. Oh, all right, Amanda, I wouldn't worry about insulting Dom because he's got an ally, potential ally, because I don't know how he feels about the film, but I loved it and I still love it. I think it's a
What?
great film. Yes.
Really?
Well, we'll go on and I will say how much I love it and why I
Oh,
love it.
God. Okay.
Not only that, I watched this movie 5 times in the last 2 weeks.
What? Oh my
Yes.
God. No.
I watched
Dedication.
I watched the theatrical 3 times. I watched the international or director's cut twice.
Yeah.
And
Why?
it was at night. I was about to go to bed, and I was like, I'll put on Legend again.
Oh, because
I
it's
enjoy
boring
it.
and it'll help you sleep.
It does put me to sleep at times. I will admit that, but I still like the film. First of all, I think part of the problem, and I knew as I was watching this, I had a smile on my face. I was like, Charlie and Amanda are going to hate this film, and
Why
I
would you
don't
say
care.
that?
Because I know the 2 of you. I'm sorry, I mean, yeah, I'd be more worried about what I am going to say to the both of you, because I will not be polite and friendly, over. Actually, it's everyone's opinions. They're entitled to their opinions. But if I have to fight back on my own, defending this movie, I will. And I will get really, really tough on this.
Yeah, it's
You're going to end
Yes.
up fighting the devil on this, aren't you?
going to be darkness.
Well, I want us to all be friends at the end. But
Wow.
I will defend this movie. I think, again, and I've said this so many times before, it's because you're looking at it through
No.
older
No.
people's eyes. Yes,
Absolutely
yes.
I don't
not.
think it is,
Absolutely
because-
not.
It's baloney. No. You didn't see it back then. It's a fantasy. It's a wonderful fantasy, and it's just brings back fond memories of then. And I love the dialogue. It's like again, this is your problem is your heart is black. Black is midnight, black is pitch, blackest as the foulest witch. And I love when Blick says all that stuff in rhyme. That's Shakespeare, my friend. That's Bill Shakespeare right there.
Wait, is it?
What?
Yes, it is. The stuff that comes out of him.
That film to Shakespeare.
The way he rhymes it, it's just fantastic.
Oh God.
Ah, wonderful. Well said, Joe. Well done. I think a staunch, robust defense there, and this is going to achieve exactly what I wanted to do with this film. So,
Like when he says, he goes, "Did you kill the unicorn?" He goes, "The stallion is dead as dreams." It's like, who writes this stuff? It's brilliant.
Who writes this stuff?
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's an A-level students film.
So Charlie,
I mean, I'm not going to say it's Citizen Kane, but
time out. Let's go, because this is just the foreplay to the main event.
I know.
So Charlie,
Where are we going to go?
Didn't you say last pod that this was you hadn't seen Legends?
I hadn't seen it. No,
Yeah,
I hadn't seen it.
Mr. 80s film, hadn't seen Legends. This is like pops your cherry. Go on, give us a taste.
Well, that's what it is. First of all, Joe, if I'd never seen The Princess Bride and I sat down and watched The Princess Bride now, I would love it. Do you know why? Because The Princess Bride is a wonderful, magical, fantasy, everything film. It's got great performances. It's got humor. It's got whatever. It delivers on every count. When we do Princess Bride, I'll be really glowing on it because it's fantastic. It doesn't matter if I hadn't seen it. If I watch it now, I'd like the Peter Falk, I'd like the idea and everything else. This film. So, first of all, I'll never watch this film ever again, and don't ask me to watch the other three because it's never going to happen. I don't care if you think the other one's Star Wars and this is Solo, and you say, oh no, it's still the same ecosystem, but it's a much better film. Rubbish. There's nothing you can do to improve this apart from burn the negatives so it never exists.
You were 20 minutes in and you were saying...
I turned to Amanda, 20 minutes in, I went, can we turn the...
Nothing happened in it.
Can we just turn this off? And can we just, what she says, we've only got another night to watch it. And I went, well, then we'll get halfway then. And it's such a slog to get halfway. And then to say, right, okay, now we know we're at the top of the mountain and tomorrow we could BMX down the side of it. It's fine.
Oh,
it's a collection of scenes that sometimes have a relationship to the previous scene, but sometimes have no relationship to anything.
And I'm going, the director's cut.
No, Joe. If a film's good enough, it doesn't need it. I could watch Alien's theatrical version and go, I had a good time with that, and I can watch the director's cut. You actually think the director's cut of Aliens is not as good as the theatrical cut? Well, quelle surprise. I don't think that anything could be done to watch this. I'm willing to hear the different versions and how it improves it or whatever the flow, but I can't remember seeing a film this bad in I was about to say recent years, possibly recent decades, and I've seen some rubbish.
Well, look, this tees things up beautifully, then, doesn't it? So I'm sure our listeners are salivating at the prospect of the bun fight that's to come, and hopefully we all do remain friends. This won't be the last time the four of us do a pod together, but I think it probably is a good jumping off point just to explain a little bit about some of the difficulties.
Well, what about you? How do you feel about the film?
Well, I think I'm somewhere in the middle of those two extremes that we heard about earlier. I think it's no.
You're just a troublemaker. You put this film in as to be subversive. And fair play to you because it's working, and it's probably I hope the listeners are liking this.
I just think films, what's the point? I think in putting a 10 out of 10 Stone Cold classic there, and I'll just sit around saying how much we all love it. That's maybe every so often that's a good thing to do, or some turd of a film, if you'll excuse my language, and we'll just sit here and slag it off. I think this has got some really poor sections in. I nod my head when I hear a little bit of Charlie and Amanda's feedback there, but I also think it's got some absolutely iconic parts to it as well. And I think what it could have been as well, I think if the director had taken it in a slightly different direction, and we'll get into some of the development issues that plagued this film and the 15 script rewrites, and which I think you can see within it. But I think the scenes with darkness, the Tim Curry demon character, the princess when she's trying to be seduced and she's kind of being exposed to the dark side. I think if we'd had more of that and less leprechauns mincing around the woods, when that one took an arrow to the forehead, the sigh of relief as it nearly blew the front doors off, because they could be quite irritating as well, can't they? So yeah, I think it's a mixed bag, and it's a valiant attempt, but I'm saying my score's to lead. Talk about the making of this film a little bit, because I think it's an important place to. Well, Charlie, it's your pod. You're all right if we talk about the making of it?
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah.
We could explain to our listeners kind of what went wrong or what contributed to whatever it is we see on screen. And the film has been described as the extinction event that discouraged Hollywood from making fantasy films for a while. Obviously, then we got into subsequently the Peter Jackson era, which revitalized the whole genre. But in reviewing this film, which version are we reviewing? The theatrical version, the US release, the director's cut, the European version, 2 different soundtracks, up to 4 alternate endings to the movie. Joe, do you want to bring to life for us in your inimitable style some of the difficulties that we have in reviewing the one film?
Well, I saw the original one, the theatrical one, or the US version, and what I remember a lot of is the Tangerine Dream soundtrack. And I love it. It brings back memories of when I was younger. And then when the director's cut came out, what was it, like in 2004 or something like that? They found some footage somewhere where they were able to put exactly what his vision was, Ridley Scott's vision was of the movie. The original score was Jerry Goldsmith. And it kind of adds like a Lord of the Rings type of score to it. Seems more epic, more serious. But the Tangerine Dream one, it just seems more fantasyful, more lighter, which I think it kind of needed since the movie is very dark at times. And it's just beautiful. I mean, both scores are very good, but I think that's what I would feel most people, especially me, when I'm watching the movie, it's like, which one am I going to watch? I really like the Tangerine Dream score. And I could remember the stuff that was in the director's cut. So I'm okay with watching the shorter version of it. But what is it, Dom? Is it like 25 minutes, the difference between the director's cut and the theatrical?
That's right, yeah. So initially the quests were longer, but it was eventually substantially reduced with Ridley Scott wanting to avoid too many subplots that departed from the main story. And I think if you watch the theatrical version, you can see the swinging axe cuts, which took, the plot does move on at a quite an uneven, overly quick pace at times, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the trouble that we sort of found, wasn't it? It just felt some places it was a bit disjointed, and then it didn't feel like it was particularly flowing.
How did that relate to that? Yeah,
one thing I didn't like with the theatrical one is they introduced darkness right away. It kind of takes away from the big reveal when he comes out of the mirror. And I don't know why they did that,
Okay.
But there are
I did quite like the like the prologue where it like the Star Warsy bit where it reads kind of like the introduction as to what the setup is and the fact that you can't have light without darkness and stuff. Although the film didn't actually prove that, because light kicked darkness's ass basically and kicked it into touch and sent it away. So anyway, I just found that it was a little bit weird. It was a contradiction. Whether that was in editing, I don't know. But but I did like the setup because it set the scene. But I didn't feel the film really necessarily justified.
Well, let's stay with the build up, like the context of the film, if that's okay. So there's a few other points that are relevant here as well. So there were some issues with the actual shooting of it too. So famously, the set burnt down. Fortunately, nobody was killed because it was a pretty massive fire. But it was filmed on location at the James Bond set in England. I think he originally wanted to shoot it on location, but it's too expensive. Did it in the UK, and the whole set burnt down a few days before the end of filming, which I think proved problematic as well. So there was some kind of hasty last-minute changes to the shoot as well, and of course, just the sheer amount of prosthetics that are required for the film, apart from the Tom Cruise character. Everybody, particularly Tim Curry, are spending 5-6 hours a day getting ready for their shoot. So, it wasn't a particularly happy set either.
His
they actually
was pretty phenomenal, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was going to say what's interesting is I just found this out that after the set burnt down, I think they filmed some of it in another set in England, but they also filmed some outdoor scenes over not too far from where I live in Silver Springs, Florida, which I thought was kind of cool. They filmed a lot of things there. I don't know if you guys had ever seen like the original Tarzan with what's his name?
Johnny Weissmuller.
Yeah, they filmed all of that in Silver Springs. Because again, it looks like forest fantasy, and it's kind of a nice place to visit.
Have you got Irish leprechauns in there as well, then? And swigging
That's possible. I mean, people see leprechauns.
Contraband alcohol in the hat.
We see Bigfoot. We see leprechauns. We see a lot of things here.
Yeah, don't get him started on Bigfoot.
Yeah, don't get me started on Bigfoot or aliens or anything like that.
Oh wow!
So listeners. So in conclusion, multiple versions of this film. Kind of depends which one you watch, but we should probably move on to roll call because at least the cast are consistent throughout the movies. So, Charlie, cue roll call.
Well, here's roll call.
Roll call.
So bit of a challenge.
Disjointed. Okay.
Bit of a challenge this week, then, isn't it? As we're not going to do Tom Cruise, having recently covered him in Risky Business.
Yes. Oh, although can I point out that we have our tickets for the 4DX showing of the new Mission Impossible film. 2 weeks today. 2 weeks today, we'll be sat in there enjoying that. 2 hours, 25 minutes. But apparently it flies by and it's amazing. So yes, can't wait.
Very nice.
Yes.
Right, so no Tom Cruise, and also tricky roll call this time because many of the supporting cast are primarily theatre actors rather than working in film, which maybe isn't surprising because I kind of think this might actually work better on the stage than it does on the screen, to be honest. It's more like a play or even a pantomime in the parts. But it's also worth highlighting that a couple of the actors don't even have Wikipedia entries, which shows the level of their obscurity, and that's Peter O'Farrell as Pox and Annabelle Lanyon as Una the fairy. So
yes.
not even on. She's got 140 Instagram followers. I've got more than that. Yeah, so that's how well her career went after Legend. So yeah, I just think before we move off Tom Cruise completely, he's a lucky boy really that this didn't derail his career. So Roger Ebert sums it up well. So performances tend to get lost in productions like this. I particularly noticed how easily Cruise got buried in the role of Jack. Here is a talented young actor from Risky Business where he came across as a genuine individual, and this time he's so overwhelmed by sets and special effects that his character could be played by anybody. And, I'm sure, Joe, you would disagree, but yeah, I think there's some little bit of truth in that for me.
Well, the ones that were supposed to, when they have Jim Carrey, Johnny Depp, and
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. I actually think probably maybe Johnny Depp might have done a little better, but the other ones, I don't know.
Well, no, I don't think anybody could. I don't think anybody could magically improve that role. It was just look at Tom. Risky Business taps. It was a dud. But let's not forget, a year after this, Top Gun. If you can look at this film and then go a year later, Top Gun and Mia Sara, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's almost like this film is like eons ago, and then suddenly they go into roles which are perfect for them. But I mean, perfect.
Don't you think Tom Cruise undergoes a physical transformation in the meantime as well? I mean, he's got and I say this is a Brit, Joe. I'm sure you'll roll your eyes, but he's got terrible teeth. He's got a monobrow
No, he
that
does.
would make Liam Gallagher think about getting the tweezers out. They kind of shoot him with like this sort of sweaty sheen to his face throughout the whole movie. I'm sure at one point there's actually got
darling, that's
snot.
glitter.
Glitter.
They've glittered him.
I thought he had the flu. That's the effect that I thought it gave him. He looked, like he needed to lie down and some Lemsip.
But he's still a good-looking guy.
He is a good-looking
yeah,
guy.
he is.
I wouldn't
Yeah,
have mind kissing him in that film.
Would you kiss him now?
Would I kiss him now? Of course I would.
Oh, okay. That mean I can kiss Jennifer
It's
Connelly?
a bit small though. I'd have to
co-star.
get him up on a table or something.
Yeah, I think you
Let's
probably
not go
I've
could
into
just
got
too
my
much
point
heels
detail.
on. Because with my new heels, I'm like 6'2", 6'3".
Oh boy.
So
Yeah, she's as
he'd
tall
be up
as
to my
me.
boobs. And I don't really want to have to bend down to kiss Tom Cruise, really.
Where are you kissing
Hey.
him if you bend in? Oh, right, okay. Sorry. All right.
Well, if he's down there,
Well, for those listening, please tune into YouTube and you can see where Amanda's pointing. Not necessarily where you
I
may,
didn't think about that.
not necessarily where you may be thinking, dear listeners.
you just have to make it slutty, don't you?
Yeah, I
wasn't
think you were
at all.
doing that perfectly well on your own.
I was very clear about what I was talking about. Thank you very much.
You wanted him on a table? Yeah, I get it. All right, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
I still think, like, when you say that no one could make this disaster any better, it's not a disaster. I think it's a fun movie. Again, it's your heart is black as pitch. That's your problem.
Joe,
It's like you can't look at it at the eyes of a child.
right,
know-
I haven't seen Kroll.
I haven't seen Krull either.
Right, okay. Right, so, do you know what? We'll end up doing Kroll at some point. I guarantee you, it will be better than this film.
Well, you can't guarantee me that because, I mean, maybe for you, but maybe not for me.
Okay. And when we were watching it on Disney, because we went on to Disney Plus for the last bit to see if the sound was better, and weirdly it wasn't the version that I had. But it said, if you like this, you'll like Conan the Barbarian. And I went, oh, if only we were watching that classic.
Wait a minute. Is that available on Disney Plus?
It is, yes.
Not over here. We get crap over here.
Well, you need a VPN, Joe. You need to tell it you're in Manchester or something, and then
I
you'll
guess
get
so.
all that.
Yeah,
Wonderful
get our
contact.
booty. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'll have a look at yours. It's probably got some brilliant stuff. Might have the Cosby. I wouldn't have the Cosby Show. What was I thinking?
They just added Home Improvement. That's
Oh, we
about it.
got that as well. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I used to watch Home Improvement.
Hmm.
Oh, God, sorry.
Okay. Are you gonna disappear for a little bit?
Oh, might do.
That's fine. Just disappear for a little bit. It's fine. We'll carry on.
Sorry.
It's only roll call anyway. Roll call that I wasn't going to play Little Does She Know, so it's fine. Can we talk about?
Why don't you take over the running of roll call? But let's move on to Mia Sara or Princess Lily. Yeah.
Yes, let's go into that. So obviously Sloane Peterson from Ferris Bueller, legendary film, brilliant film, but a career hasn't exactly taken off in the way that you would have thought, bearing in mind that she started in a Ridley Scott film and then a John Hughes film the year later. You would have thought, okay, stratospheric. Nope, not at all. She did appear, and she was, I think she's extremely good looking, extremely attractive. She appeared in Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I thought she was pretty good in that. She played Harley Quinn, or rather, should we say, Harleen Quinzel in the TV series Birds of Prey. What's more interesting is her personal life, I would say. She got married to Jason Connery in Sean Connery's son in 96. They had a kid and then they divorced in 2002. And then she's still married to Jim Henson's son, Brian Henson. So she likes the sons of famous people, it seems. And has
Did you
kids
guys
with them.
do you have that show called Face Off over there? Did you ever see it's a competition between makeup artists?
Does that
No.
sound like something that I would like tune into, Joe? Or
Yes.
I mean, I know
It's really cool.
It's the 21st century, Joe, and you know anything can happen. But No, it doesn't.
No, I think you would love it. It's just like, again, like some of like the, these aspiring makeup artists compete, and then one person is eliminated each week until finally they pick the best of all of them, and they get a contract and so forth, and they go on to do movies. But one episode they had Brian Henson on, and he was talking about all things that he did. And then Mia Sara showed up, and they were all whispering, it's Lily, it's Lily. They didn't say it's Sloane Peterson.
What?
They're like, they knew it was Lily because they admire that movie so much for the makeup. And I do too. I just think it's astounding. I know maybe I should stop if we're going to get into the makeup later, but it's some of the best makeup I think ever produced on film. It's just incredible when I look at it. When you look at the CGI crap that they have now, and some of it's good CGI, and then you compare it to this, it's just blows
I'll give
me
you that.
away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you that. However, Joe, you're right to assume that I watch rubbish, because I do watch the classics and I also watch rubbish. I'm not recommending it, but I can't take my eyes off it. On Netflix, Is It Cake? So they'll do something. It'll look like a handbag, and you have to decide, is it cake or not? Or is it a handbag? And then they go, ooh, don't know. And they're looking around. They can't go close up to it, but they can look at it. And then they put a knife through it. And if it's cake, it cuts through. And I don't ask me why I like that, but
yeah, it's understandable. It's
okay.
Fun. Some reality programs are fun.
Yeah, nailed it. I like that as well. That's pretty good. Yeah, apart from that, I don't think she's done an awful lot.
It's a shame though when a career fizzles out so badly, though, isn't it? We've talked about Steve Guttenberg here, who had a run of hits and then faded into obscurity, but I don't really understand why her career went so badly. I mean, bad luck, I'm sure, perhaps marriage, whatever it was, but to have two really strong hits right at the start and then to do essentially nothing apart from Time Cop, which has its charms, but is a pretty middling, not well remembered film, is a shame, because Ferris Bueller should have set her up for.
Time Cop's great,
but it's not memorable. Yeah. It's not a classic.
What's that? Well, it's
in your world,
it's not a classic. Well,
it's not a classic.
You know, it's fun fluff. It's great.
If we ever
like Legend.
If we do a 90s podcast ever, Time Cop would be a good choice for that, because that is quite forgotten. But
there's plenty queuing up when we change this into a 90s podcast when I'm 60 or something.
I want it to be a 70s podcast one day.
Well, you can start a spin-off one, Joe. We can do one every week. Tim Curry. Well, the first thing that comes into everybody's mind when you mention Tim Curry, obviously,
Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
The concierge in Home Alone 2. No, of course it's Rocky Horror. Yes, joke. Even though he is very good in Home Alone 2, he plays a good character. And I think if I'd taken a scene from Home Alone 2 to describe what Tim Curry is like, the bit where they're watching The Grinch on TV and the Grinch starts smiling, and then it turns into Tim Curry smiling because the credit card's been cancelled. That sums up Tim Curry. He's just great.
I say after watching this, sorry, Dom, you go.
No, well, I was just going to say, it's the standout film in this, standout actor in this film by a country mile, I thought. And and who doesn't love Tim Curry? It's just so sad that he had such a serious stroke, didn't he? 10 years ago, because I think he would have had an Oscar in him, I think, perhaps in the future for latter day Tim Curry, when he wasn't forced to rely on voiceover work. And he could have had he's a brilliant physical humor actor, as you say, for Home Alone, for Clue, which we won't talk about just too much, and also obviously Rocky Horror itself. But I think he had potentially a darker side, and I could quite easily see him in in some thriller. But sadly, that's for a parallel lives film podcast. But yeah, brilliant in this. Sorry, Joe, over to you.
No, I was going to say it's sad that he didn't have a better career than he should have. Because I thought he was a brilliant actor. He was a great presence.
Yes.
And he would have been an incredible Joker. Incredible. And I don't know what the hell happened. He was even supposed to be, like, I think, Joker in Batman, the animated series, and he got screwed over for that. He did this voiceover work where he was Captain Hook in Peter Pan, and it was like a series. He should have been Captain Hook too. There's so many things that he could have been. Like even like when he says like in the movie, he goes, "Boy, yeah," like he does that a lot in the Captain Hook animated series that he does. And one of them is an homage to the other. I don't know which came first,
Right.
but people love when he says "boy, yeah" over here. So
again, it's one of those things that crosses the. So you think in the US, there's a lot of love for legend. It's a bit like when I talk about Andrew McCarthy or James Spader, and you go over here. No, they wouldn't know. It's probably a bit like that over here, maybe. Pointless answer for Tom Cruise would be legend, I would say. Maybe over here.
Well, Fedra, who's one of my co-hosts on Nerd Alert, when she heard we were doing Legend, our first words are, "I love Legend."
Oh, she's going to love me then.
Oh yeah.
If she listens, I don't know if she listens.
I think she does from time to time, depending on the movie.
Charlie, surely I slightly disagree because I think Legend's better remembered over here. But surely Tim Curry's performance as Darkness is memorable. I know you hadn't seen the film before, but you're not familiar with it from the movie posters or just from general consumption of 80s.
I always knew it was
80s
there.
Film and
in the same way, Lady Hawk. I haven't seen that either.
Me too.
So there's that'd probably be a good thing if we were having a podcast now. We disagree. I mean, I know we already do, but it's almost like, well, I'll tell you what, let's watch something like that and see how it compares. But we'll get to it at some point. Let's move on, but not from Tim Curry. Dr. Petrov in Hunt for Red October. Yes, I have to get that in. He shows again, Dom. You're absolutely right, Joe. Dom, both of you are right. He shows the type of thing that he can move from doing that serious character and playing it really well to then do the humor, and then it's almost like humor category sorted, done. Thriller, political thriller, done. Horror, Pennywise the Clown, done. And you're like, this is, and obviously Frankenfurter. I don't know what category you'd put that in. Musical, fantasy, whatever. It's whatever Rocky Horror is. It's the best thing at what it is. But then after that, I thought, pre-stroke and in that bit in between, Congo, Muppet Treasure Island, The Wild Thornberrys.
He's a massive theatre actor, though, isn't he? So it's not like he's been created pan out. And he was, got quite a lot of serious recognition. I think he opened Spamalot, didn't he? And I think he was kind of massive.
Absolutely. But he was also the voice of Darth Sidious in the Clone Wars, which I didn't know. So I had no idea.
I didn't know that
either. Shall we move on? Alice, I don't know, I've written it down. Whoever played Blix. Alice Plater? Is that how I've written it down?
Clayton, I think.
Clayton. Yeah. Two things that she's famous for. We are going to scrape the bottom of that barrel at the moment. Doug, the series, and obviously the reboot of Doug. She played a character in it. And the Cosby Mysteries. Sorry, I mentioned Cosby twice, but I don't know if YouTube's algorithm suddenly starts kicking me off at some point. But
so for our listeners, so Alex played. She played the main goblin, didn't she? That's her character in this. Yeah.
Oh, the one that the one that Joe likes. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was a voiceover actress, and indeed she dubbed David Bennett, who we'll get onto, the one that played the Honeythorn Gump, the main kind of elf type character here. Not very successfully. I don't think the dubbing was pretty poorly executed. But yeah, she didn't do much else in the world of film, did she?
No, in that sense. Joe, Billy Barty. He died in 2000, sadly.
Yeah, he was one of the most famous little people that we had. He was in a lot of stuff. I was just watching some old, was it H.R. Puffin stuff? Because Indiana Jones was watching H.R. Puffin stuff, and that kind of in the new movie, and it brought back memories of that show. So I went onto YouTube, and Billy Barty had a role in there. He played a lot of like magical creatures, small creatures. I'm trying to think what he was mostly known for, but he was in Fletch. He was in Over the Rainbow, which was about the Wizard of Oz and all the problems that they had with some of the little people, putting them in hotels. But he's kind of like the almost like the president of the little people, or like they all looked up to him. Because I remember watching this movie. Who's the guy that's in Game of Thrones and he's a little person?
Oh, Tyrion, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. He was in this movie about Hervé Villechaize, who was on Fantasy Island, and they showed a scene where he meets Billy Barty, and they didn't like each other because like Billy Barty was all about respect and for the little people, and he wanted to, just behave classy. And Hervé Villechaize was a drug addict, alcoholic, having sex with whoever he could, and they met at a hotel, and apparently Hervé punched him out.
Wow.
So
little people fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was in Willow and Masters of the Universe.
That's right, he's in Willow and Masters, yeah.
But two more to do. Let's Kieran Shah, who played Blunder.
Oh, Blunder.
Right. So look at this for a wonderful, very Star Wars heavy, by the way, Joe. He was an Ewok in Return of the Jedi. He was a goblin in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Big deal.
Apologies for you in the States. You call it something like the Sorcerer's Stone or something. Don't make any sense. But then the US titles rarely do. He loved his experience on Harry Potter so much that he played Dumpy the House Schmuck in Harry Potter and the Ridiculous Premise. I would have thought, thank you. That's biting the hand that feeds you. Thank you very much for allowing me into this wonderful franchise. I look forward to being in it. No, he dumps all over it.
I thought that was Harry Potter porn for a little bit. I was like, damn.
Well, you come up with something better than Dumpy the House Schmuck, but still. But then he's Teedo in The Force Awakens. And I'm not making this up, Neepa's Pampic in The Last Jedi. In Solo, he plays Karj.
I don't know who the hell these people are.
And Rise of Skywalker, he plays Nambi Gima.
Whatever.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that he's obviously... he hasn't done a Star Wars parody, has he? Yeah, see?
That sound you can hear isn't even the bottom of the barrel being scraped, because we've got even more obscure layers to get through yet before we go.
Oh, I've only got one. I've only got one more.
All right,
I've got Robert Picardo, the EMH, the holographic doctor from... I don't know what character he played. I didn't even write it down, but he was in Star Trek Voyager. And
he was Meg Mugglebones. It's funny. I don't know why anyone hasn't. Well, maybe because this movie's a little bit obscure. Every time I see that character now, I think of Meghan Markle. Because her name is Meg Mucklebones.
That talentless grifter, as she's officially been labelled by her boss. Yeah.
Yes. He also, Robert Picardo, played Giorgio in Back to School. I knew I'd get Back to School. All I need is a Howard the Duck reference, but sadly I haven't got one.
Do you seriously think Howard the Duck is better than this?
Oh,
Come
God,
on.
immeasurably, Joe. God, I could watch Howard the Duck 10 times in a row.
All right, look, I know we're not going to agree on this, Charlie, but I don't think you're paying sufficient respect to a Ridley Scott film. Yeah,
No. I love Ridley Scott, and I'm like going, were you drunk when you made this? Because that's all that's the only explanation I can have.
Isn't there a bit of you that thinks it's Ridley Scott, therefore it deserves a little bit more kind of critical consideration? No. Okay.
Oh, well, so all right, okay. Well, I'll add an extra point on for Ridley Scott then.
I'd rather watch this than Gladiator.
Oof. Yeah.
I was never a huge fan of Gladiator, or was it Kingdom of Heaven?
Well, so you've got to pay Ridley Scott some reference, Joe, some respect.
I'm just saying I prefer this one to those movies, because it's short. Or you could watch the director's cut. I think it's a fun movie, and
Anyway, we're going to get onto the movie. Let's finish.
Yeah, we'll get into the movie.
Have you got something else, Dom?
I just, going amongst the renter mob in the background, there was Cork Hubert played Brown Tom. He appears in films that sound like they're made up to be deliberately obscure. The Ballad of the Sad Cafe. Okay, right. Never heard of it. And then we've got David Bennett, the one that played Honeythorn Gump, who had to have his voice dubbed because he sounded too Germanic. He had a small part in Dogville, which is Lars von Trier's.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just experimental drama. Let's put it that way. If you hated Legend, you'll hate Lars von Trier. So it just amused me that I don't think in our history of Rusted Junk, which for a while at least specialised in obscure movies, I don't think we've ever gone that far into the wilderness before. Really, we need someone to pull us back in and let's dissect this beauty of a film.
Yes, let's. We still haven't got Amanda back, but it's fine. Just in case you're listening and going, why isn't she chipping in? She will be at some point. Can I? Well, I don't know where. The Rotten Tomato scores are 41% for the review for the critics and 73% for the audience scores. It's a PG. There is a bit that says. I mean, I think Amanda said it at the start. I thought this was like a Flake commercial. Because Ridley Scott was fairly, good at his commercials and the things that he did, especially the Apple one being the most famous. I just thought if this is an extended Flake advert, and if that means nothing to you, Joe, then we had a series of adverts over here with ladies in bathtubs eating flakes, but very suggestively. And Flake, you're always like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, but I know I'm going to be buying a flake. That's the power of advertising. I just thought this is the start of this film. They introduced darkness. I'm like, the guys, whoever he was talking to, the voice just irritated me and just got me on the back foot.
It was a goblin.
Yeah, well, I've heard goblins talking Harry Potter, and they sound like more coherent, and that they're actually professors. But can I know this might be skipping slightly, but hear me out. If they want to kidnap Mia Sara, because that's what that's what the Darkness said to do, why did they wait until Tom Cruise turns up? And now there's two of them.
They want to kill the unicorn. That's the premise of the film.
Yeah,
not kidnapping the princess.
No, he said go and kidnap this princess for me.
She was a victim of circumstance, because she ended up going back to try to correct the wrong deeds that she did to where the unicorn had laid. And then those guys, she knew that they were coming to get the unicorn to finish the job. So I just think she was a victim of circumstance. But no, later the father, which I'm kind of surprised we never saw the father, we never saw the mother of Darkness, because he mentions them. I don't know if he mentions the mother in the theatrical, but he does mention the mother in the director's cut. But the father is like, ooh, so I don't think it was his intention to go after the princess. She's just there for the ride.
Do you know, Charlie, by kind of cutting to some of the slightly later scenes, I think you are skipping over one of the film's strengths, which is those scenes in the woodland. I think it is very Disneyfied, but it is obviously trying to be a fairy tale, and those are pretty nicely shot, I thought. The woodland animals, the creatures that pop out, the trees, the background, the scenery, the unicorns frolicking. No,
it looks like a set. That's all. Yay! Amanda's back. Sorry for those who were listening.
Sorry, I had someone at the door.
We're just starting to go through the film, and we're just at the start now. Just clarifying for Charlie what the basic.
You're only at the start. I've been gone for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're well cool. It's fine.
We can start over if you want, Amanda.
No, you're all right. Don't put me through that trauma.
We've explained that he was going after the unicorns rather than the princess, and
I thought it was the princess he was going for. I thought the unicorn.
I thought we'd explained this.
No, that changes the whole film.
So he wasn't after the princess. He was just after the unicorn.
Yeah, he wanted to kill both the unicorns so that it would be complete darkness.
Right.
Yeah. Did you get that?
Right.
So I will concede that the film moves a fair old lick in the opening scenes, slightly jarringly sometimes as you move through one not very well introduced.
One
scene to the next.
disparate, incoherent scene to the next. It was...
I love Blix. He rhymes most of his dialogue. What was the other one? Oh, this was in the international cut. Where he says, he sees her and he goes, maybe innocent, maybe sweet, not half as good as rotten meat. I just love when he rhymes
Shakespeare,
stuff.
apparently. It's been
There we go. Bill Shakespeare.
Been compared
Yes,
to
Shakespeare.
Good Lord.
100%.
Good
No, at
lord.
least I think that the writing in this was very well done. The dialogue I thought was very good.
Joe, never visit Stratford, because if anybody in Stratford's listening to this, they'll put it out on their little network and you won't be allowed anywhere near.
They'll pelt you in the stocks
Yep.
outside with rotten tomatoes.
I'll take them on.
I'll be handing them to them, Joe.
Have we talked about potentially Tom Cruise's first stunt?
Oh, we might be getting. We have to probably move it on a little bit because we did spend a lot on roll call, but it's fine. We've got plenty of time. Well, we haven't got onto the stunt, but I think we just get it out of the way. Tom's accent. I think it was just
what was that?
Warming up for Far and Away, which was bloody awful.
So Tom Cruise's character is introduced. He drops down from a tree, and he's obviously got a thing for the princess. I like the way that he allows her to go up to the unicorn and stroke the unicorn, and then declares that her behaviour was forbidden and should never have been done, despite the fact he just watched it unfold without any prior warning that was gonna happen.
But maybe that's a metaphor.
Okay, what, stroking the unicorn's horn? What could that possibly represent?
Don't stroke it because it's forbidden. Oh, go on then.
And the best bit is, where are the unicorns? Say the people that are following them. Where could these unicorns be? Oh, it turns out just up there on the left. All you have to do is pull the leaves apart. It's just there.
Well, the thing was, right, if darkness and hell is only a short tunnel slip away from where they're all living anyway, with all that smoke and stuff coming out the chimneys, they would have known that was there, surely.
I will concede that the whole film did seem to be filmed within like a quarter of a mile square. But Charlie, if you were paying attention to the exposition, you'd understand that those unicorns were lured in by her innocence. You know, that's
innocence.
It wasn't like a total coincidence that it all happened in that order.
So you've went down the hill, and there were the unicorns. They weren't lured in; they were there already.
No, that wasn't their home. You know.
Well, where did they live? As Dom said, there's only like a couple of football pitches, you know, that they can hide in.
It was bigger than that.
I thought unicorns had wings as well.
That's Pegasus.
That's Pegasus, yeah. You're thinking Clash of the Titans?
No, maybe.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
But I'm sure on some like unicorn stuff, just like the general kind of kids stuff that you get, you know, duvet sets and stuff. I'm sure there was unicorns with wings.
They were half breeds.
I don't know.
So Cruise's stunt that she referenced a minute ago. So we're talking about when he dives. Here's probably a metaphor here as well, but he dives in looking for the princess's ring. Yeah,
that's not him.
She stroked the horn. He goes for the ring.
Now this is more British stuff. I don't.
Now that film I could watch.
He gets quite wet, doesn't he? Going in for a ring.
Yeah,
he has to hold his breath.
He holds his breath while he's down there. Yeah,
he does. Yeah.
Like a real man.
I forgot that I wrote something. He blindfold. I forgot about this because this actually made me chuckle.
Doesn't he?
He blindfolds her to take her to the area where the unicorns are. Right. 30 seconds away.
You don't know that.
Why are you blindfolding me? It's just over there. That's the blindfold bit is the thing I had to mention because I was just like, why are you blindfolding? Like taking me in the back of a van or something.
Because she doesn't want to bring her teenage friends over and like check out the unicorns. Go pet them.
And Tom Cruise didn't do this. Oh, can I just look behind me, see if anyone's following me? Nope. No.
Anyway, isn't she a bit of a posh bird?
She is. Yeah, she's a princess.
Yeah, what's she doing mingling with Jack in the forest? Eh?
She's got the hots for him.
Clearly.
Mm.
Mm.
Let's introduce rings and rods and horns again.
So I was with the film up to this point, but then when I started to have some doubts emerge was when the goblins have cut the horn off and then they start mucking around with it. And
Yeah, why didn't they just go back?
Yeah, they set up camp, don't they, and zap each other.
Then they set up camp and then they roast some. I don't know what it is. Why didn't they roast the unicorn?
Because they're idiots. Like they're just minions. He just wants the horn. They don't know to also kill. I don't know if at the end, if that horn brings the unicorn back to life, if it was dead before. Who knows? It's magical. Just go with it. All right.
I did
complain too much. I really do.
I did write this. Why the goblins fanning around by the barbecue? Take the unicorn horn to the devil.
I wrote a similar note, but with a less polite word than fanning around. Yeah. And at this point, I watched it with Rose, my youngest, and the princess wails, "What have I done?" And Rose chips in. It's quite hard to see what you've done, as it's not set out very well. I don't think she'd completely not sure what was happening at this stage at all. But yeah, they were.
One thing that I noticed as well, when it all went all snowy, they didn't go and grab a coat, did they? They were all wearing exactly what they wore. Well, if that was the case, and the whole world in their eyes had gone all cold and snowy, and everything was frozen, they'd be dead within hours.
But they're magical creatures, so I think that...
No, Jack and Lily aren't.
Jack is a forest child, so I think that he was kind of used to it, but they did give him a coat at some point. Yeah. Lily, is questionable.
So
maybe she had the unicorn
she'd be
juice
used
on
to,
her.
sitting in front of the fire at home if it was snowy. She wouldn't be out frolicking around in her dress.
But that was hot, though. I mean, there's so much hotness about Lily that we can talk about. And that gives me a couple of points right there. Or this movie. Oh, yeah.
A couple of, yeah.
Well, points there, Joe, was it?
Yeah.
Not one, but two.
Not just one big point.
Just put it into one, Joe. It's fine.
If we found the goblins slightly problematic, then I think my least favourite part of the film is when that Pan child appears. So the honey thorn gump, torso naked from the torso up, elfin child. I found him quite difficult. And,
is that the one with the weird voice?
Yeah, well, yeah. Which we missed roll call, but it was dubbed in by a different actor because the actor in real life is Swiss, but Swiss German. So.
Oh.
This has turned into an ambush.
This will not be tolerated. I don't think it was. Yeah.
No, I'm saying that I thought you liked the film, and now I have to defend it on my own.
Wait a minute. You're 2.5. You're outnumbered 2.5, and not 3 against 1, Joe.
All right. Why
did the unicorn die when it just got its horn cut off?
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't dead. They didn't explain it.
It was dead. Joe. It's definitely dead.
Put a poison dart in it, though, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they put a poison dart in it. They chopped, and then Blix said, "Dead as dreams," But for whatever reason, the unicorn horn brought it back to life. So can't we just be happy with that? It's a fantasy. It's not reality. It's a fantasy. It's okay.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
I agree.
I've written in my notes. Right, Owls asked if they saw anything. Touched unicorn, very angry. Did it for love. And then they said, "Oh no, but she did it for love." And it's like, oh, it was all shits and giggles and bubbles. Remember? Because then they just started blowing bubbles. Yeah. Like, oh, he did it for love. Oh, well, that's fine then. That's fine. Pulls out the Alf booze. Bob's your uncle.
It's interesting. So in the director's cut, they're going to kill Jack because they feel that he's the reason because he led Lily to the unicorn. So he has to answer a riddle, and if he doesn't get the riddle right, they're going to kill him.
Answer me these riddle 3.
Yeah, very much like that.
Well, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? Because when they come across the dead unicorn and they find it, the Alf appoints Jack as the champion. It's like, oh, well, who made you the appointee of champions?
Because he's the tallest one.
Oh, and they've got
Oh, the
they've got armor.
Why is the
Literally.
elf now got the power of saying to Jack, "Oh yeah, you've got to be the champion now"?
There
When
were
they
a lot
just
of
tried to
wild,
kill him 30 seconds ago.
there were a lot of wild personality swings and non sequiturs in this part of the film, really, weren't there? Which, presumably was down to editing troubles again.
I can't see Brown Tom going against darkness at the end. So yeah, I think that Tom Cruise was a good pick to fight him.
He's the
Well,
only pick, isn't he?
yeah, he's the only one. We've got this armor. It only fits a
fits him.
human. It's kind of you. It's too big for what
And-
it was.
When he goes to get the armor, when they're all down the tunnely thing, the fairy is a bit suggestive, isn't she?
Yeah.
Why
She
would the
says
fairy
she
say?
can be whatever he wants her to be, even his heart's desire. And you're like, oh, hello.
I mean, that's just a blatant Peter Pan rip-off, isn't it? It's one
bit
thing being
saucy.
kind of inspired by the source material. It's another thing just completely ripping it off. But yeah.
I would have gone with the fairy.
Would you?
Just because she can be her, his heart's desire. So he gets tired of Lily, he gets someone else.
Yeah, but it was in
Because
the form of Lily.
I know, no, I'm saying he can be whatever, or she wanted to be whatever he wanted. So she could switch back and forth.
Oh.
I
Pretty
think
good.
if he was concerned about that, being the form of would be more than enough for Tom Cruise. How many forms would you go through before he got bored?
So we
Anyway.
have to pause there for a mental moment, won't we? I think while we all consider that question.
Yes. Well, it relates to you as well, sweetheart. You can have, you presumably this fairy can take the form of like any bloke that you like.
Oh.
So works both ways.
I don't think Joe got enough credit for his hypothetical question earlier of why did they choose Tom Cruise as the hero? Why not give it to Brown Tom to take on darkness at the end? Because that would have been hilarious, wouldn't it? That bumbling leprechaun who instead had to settle for a lucrative sideline advertising breakfast cereals honestly.
He was good with that frying pan, though.
When he took the arrow to the head,
God.
that was my favourite part of the film. I thought-
And why did they appoint him the caretaker of the only unicorn left in the world? Why did they do that?
Because it had to be somebody.
Oh God.
It could have been anybody. I guess they wouldn't have picked Jack because he's the main character. It's
But
writing.
he's supposed to be protecting the unicorns, or is he on a mission to save Lily? I just
He was he's supposed
I
to
got
protect the
confused.
unicorns.
well, why
But-
didn't he stay with the unicorn then?
Who? Brown Tom?
No.
Oh, Jack.
Yeah, protect the
Well, no,
other
he-
unicorn.
But they had to go get the other unicorn horn back from darkness, so he had to get a suit of armor. So they had to go and get the suit of armor.
Well, it's like playing capture the flag in Call of Duty. If you go for the flag and you don't defend it, you lose both flags. Especially you get wiped out.
Yeah, that's a good scenario that way.
Basically, I'd written, why is Tom Cruise's gang following him? He says he's not a fighter, but they all are because they're used to swatting stuff away with frying pans. If he's not a fighter, how's he lasted so long in the forest? He must have come across all these wild and wonderful creatures before. And he goes, well, I'm not a fighter. Well, how have you survived then?
He never said he wasn't a fighter.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
He said specifically, "I'm not a fighter."
Words to that effect.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Anyway,
Shimon.
we're at the demon, where he cuts the demon's head off.
What? Hang on, you've skipped.
Oh,
ahead a
wait,
bit
have
there,
I
haven't you?
skipped? Have I skipped a bit? Sorry.
Oh, come on. This is a disjointed film.
So he's seen Tinkerbell who's tried to seduce him. Una the fairy, and he's got his golden armor, and they're on their little mission now, and they cross the swamp and encounter that swamp hag, who gets outfoxed using the sort of reverse psychology trick that a 4-year-old would find patronising when he appeals to her vanity. So that demonstrates what a fighter he is, because he dispatches her in short order.
Oh, well, in the director's cut, it's much longer, and he convinces her that she's beautiful, and she stares at the shield at her reflection, because she's trying to eat him. And then does he lose his sword in this version? Like it falls into the lake?
No, because he cuts her head off with it.
Oh no, yeah. So he ends up losing his sword, and he's trying to grab it without her, trying to get her to look at herself in the reflection. so that he can chop her head off. It goes on longer. It's a better scene in the director's cut.
Okay. Okay.
And that's an amazing makeup job. Incredible.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Um.
So after Jack kills the pond woman, then
So that's when they enter the dungeons, isn't it? And they muck around in the dungeons for quite a while. And one of their, there's an abrupt switching of kind of levels of sinister in this film, isn't there? Because after all these kind of fairly superficial woodland folk, there's this horrible, nightmarish S&M cannibal ogre that appears and puts one of them in pie, which is suddenly far more terrifying than anything we've seen so far. But luckily, the other shrug off his loss quite calmly with saying there's nothing we can do to save him and leave him to his gruesome fate. But yeah, that's.
Can I ask the meat table, for want of a better phrase? Where are they getting this meat from? Surely the people in the forest would have realised that persons, I don't know what the term is, persons would have been disappearing and not coming back.
Not necessarily.
Well, they don't wonder where little Jimmy's gone. He's been gone for 5 years.
This
He
is
must
only
have fell in the lake. He must have drowned.
It's a quarter-mile radius, though, where Hal is, isn't it? Like
It's not a quarter mile.
It is.
I mean, no, it's
It is.
not.
I wonder if
Like,
it's anything to do with
where's
that
Uncle Derek?
forbidding tower that.
Oh, we went out to get some wood, but he never came back.
Why is there loads of smoke coming out that tower?
Yeah.
Are you guys a bunch of flat
Are they
earthers?
burning something in there?
Yeah.
I don't.
Doesn't make
I don't
sense,
think.
does it?
I don't think quibbling about the logistics of the supply chain is really at the heart of Legend. I think you're maybe being a bit unfair in that criticism, really.
I will say that's my least favorite part.
Oh, we got there. We got to some criticism from Joe. Woo-hoo.
No, I want to see more of Hot Lily. You know,
Well,
it's like,
you do though shortly, don't you? Yeah.
yeah.
So the fairy gives him an ultimatum and basically says, do all this stuff, otherwise I'm not going to get you out. But then they don't do it, and she still lets them out. Okay.
That worked then.
So why did Mia Sara go off in one direction and everyone go off in the other?
They caught her.
They didn't. She was walking around. She was randomly walking around, and then she finds the necklace.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
Well, they
where
let her
is
go.
that? Because that looked like it was. She was really little, and she was walking through like loads of chess pieces. That was really weird.
That was great cinematography.
What?
It was. I mean, I think that's classic. I'm surprised that hasn't been a meme. Looks incredible.
I might create a few memes from this, but it won't be to showcase it.
This bit though that we're getting up to now is my favorite. So to support Joe here, it's my favorite part of the film when the demon is exposed. He seduces her with his ideas and what he can offer her. She dances with that enchanted dress. I think.
Hang on. That whole dance scene was like, hang on a minute, is this film turned into some dark ballet?
Twin Peaks, I thought it turned into.
Pretty sexy.
It was just random.
I would love to have seen more of this part of the
film.
film. This for me was the best bit.
International cut, maybe.
What with
watch some of that.
the dancing gimp, as I called it?
Yeah, it had like a gimp mask on, and
I thought that was
stuff.
really cool the way that they did it.
Yeah.
What? No,
Yeah. Yes.
no. It felt
I
like
will say-
it was Beauty and the Beast, but
Well,
dark.
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say before, it's kind of like Adam and Eve, like what she does. Like where, Eve took the apple, she strokes the unicorn, and then
Back to that.
we're at this
Temptation.
women's fault.
But
Yeah.
but to your point, Amanda, it is obviously clearly heavily influenced by Beauty and the Beast as well. I think that's fair to say, and I think Ridley Scott would acknowledge that. It's kind of an amalgamation of various fairy stories and gothic themes, isn't it?
Yeah, I just thought it was a bit random. I
But
put
then-
random ballet dancing with black gimp sparkly mask.
What did you say about scarecrows grasping at straws, Dom? I'm just gonna say I did a lot of that with that scene.
Yeah.
and then I find out that she's 15 years old, like a couple of weeks ago. Back then,
Oh dear.
I just feel so dirty now.
Oh, Joe, I wouldn't even have admitted that.
I didn't even know that she was 15 when she made
She
this
was
film.
15, but I blame Ridley Scott on that one.
not
He's
the-
going to
your-
hell,
your-
not me.
Not your inability to open up a film magazine and find out at the time.
Back in the 80s, well, no, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't have said, and she's 15 years old. Her birthday is going to be on this date. She'll be 16. And the year before, she was 14. They don't do that. We didn't have internet back then. All I just know is like, what is this?
See,
Why haven't I seen
feel
it
kind
before?
I feel kind of bad that I think she looked well sexy when she turned into the goth queen.
She did.
Oh,
well
no.
sexy.
No,
But I'm
no,
not
no,
allowed
no,
to. Well,
no,
wait a minute. I'm not allowed to say that now.
I thought it was actually a boy.
What?
A boy.
I thought it was a boy.
Yikes.
Seriously.
So flat. Like I just and the dress
Well, I
thing came like down here, and I was just like, all right, who is that?
We're all into stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Didn't. Mm.
That's
I'm not-
adequate for me.
yeah. Don't want to end up in an episode of Nonce-Watch, so I'm not going to articulate my thoughts about her in that dress. But I definitely didn't think she looked boyish, and I'd have to
Yes, definitely
respectfully
not.
disagree. Let's move on to safer territory, shall we? When that the big reveal of darkness, and I agree, Joe. They shouldn't have shown him earlier on in the film. They should have been the proper reveal, but it's still a reveal of sorts. His cloven hoof steps out of the wall or the mirror, and then this just like iconic. I cannot. This is why I'm surprised you're not more familiar with legends, in particularly you, Charlie. But yeah, it's just great. That is such a good costume, makeup, design.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Realization.
So the feet then, where was he actually wearing hooves?
Probably not.
Because how would he have got his big feet in hooves?
We just see close-ups of his feet. I don't know why he was wearing pants. To be honest with you, if you're going to look at things like that, because
having a large red.
yeah.
That was his
member
tail.
flopping around might have got them an 18th, perhaps.
Winnie the Pooh.
Why have we degraded this film into some kind of teen porn kind of?
Yes, it is a
sexual
little bit.
fantasy
It's a little bit of soft porn, I would
You
say.
think?
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, it is for Joe. Can I just point out Winnie the Pooh doesn't wear pants, so you know.
He wears a vest, doesn't he? A t-shirt.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, but this guy had no top on it either. So like,
I must
But he had,
admit,
like-
though, right? If we're talking about kind of fantasies, I was a little bit turned on by the character. I must admit. I think it was
by
the voice.
Satan?
Yeah, it was the
Oh
voice.
my God, you're going to hell.
I am, aren't I?
Oh God. Right. Okay.
He was ripped. You know, it's fair to say.
True.
but that's all fake though. That's all
Yeah, but,
makeup.
you know.
Well, just before you get to darkness, I wrote they get to the gate and somebody says, "Well, there's nothing you can do to help her." So I was like, "So what was the point of that film? What was the point of the film then? There's nothing you can do to help her." Oh, wait a minute! The sun kills him, and then he says, "Bring light to darkness." They're surrounded by fire. It's not like that they're walking around like this, going, "Oh, this is great. This is the ideal environment because I can't see anything."
No, but there is fire
Surrounded
in
by
hell,
fire.
though, isn't there?
Well,
Yeah,
then,
the sunlight is different than fire though.
oh, it's different.
Actually,
Oh, it's got to
the
be the
sun is
right
a big
type
ball
of
of
light.
fire, though, isn't it?
Yes. Ah,
Ah.
touche, Joe.
No touche. The fire that they had was underground, and it's just fire.
Different
He's
type
a-
of fire now.
Sunshine is his destroyer, you know, and he wants to live in the darkness. Yeah, I mean, he's got fires to cook his meat and all that. That's another thing I thought was kind of weird. Like I said, I don't understand why Satan would have pants, and you know, who cooks his meat? Where does he get these glasses, you know, to drink his wine? I always felt that way with the, you know, not the Hulk, Doomsday. I was like, where did he get pants from? You know, well, you guys would have to know who Doomsday is.
I know
He's
who Doomsday is.
Superman's villain. But
Yes.
anyway,
I'm just still
And
getting over the fact that
long pants, because it looks like a lot of the people in the forest are small. So he's had
Well,
them
they're-
specially made.
they had to hide his Taja.
Yeah, exactly. Who's making his? Oh, who's making the? Maybe little Jimmy, who got lost 5 years ago, is
What?
making. Is the tailor?
what are we expecting? Legend 2, where they do a deep dive on the economics of the woodland folk, and yeah, it's all based on a breakfast cereal economy. I think that's how it works. Yeah, if, Lucky
Legend
Charms
2.
are their primary exports.
The tailor's cut. Yeah.
And when they finally get the fight is completely unbelievable.
Oh, it's
Um,
terrible.
But then the bit with light, what I just wondered is, and I wrote this, and I'm going to have to say it like this: Why does light blow the bloody doors off? Why does light comes through and suddenly the doors evaporate?
Because it's
light.
a fantasy. It's a magical
light.
story.
It's not magical.
It's not necessarily Earth. I mean, it's like it may be another universe.
I was rooting for evil to win by this stage of the film. I think. Yeah, I was quite happy for darkness to have won. I think, and had his wicked way.
Have you
But then I
talked
found
about?
out she was 15, so not anymore.
Have you talked about the Alf pie at all yet?
Oh, well, that's not a metaphor, euphemism. Elf.
No, it's
Okay.
when their mate.
Eating some elf pie. Okay, please continue. Sorry.
Oh my god! No, when they go to kind of on that mission to get into the room, the elf that got carried away, not as in mentally carried away, but physically carried away by the ogre, when they were in the cells, ended up in a big pie, but the lid on the pie was so thin, he would have just gone pop. Literally,
All you need to do is
with his
stand up.
hands to get
Literally
out. But
stand
they
up.
made such a big deal of having to use the sword to cut the top of the pie off, and you're like,
They're horrible cooks. I mean, first of all, why wouldn't they kill him first? And the birds too. The birds flew out once they opened off the pie lid.
yeah, it's just, yeah.
Oh, well, we said we keep it to an hour and a half, so I think we should move on to scores, shall we?
No, I've not finished.
Oh, just because you were just because you were away for. Oh no, is it, you're going back to things at the end?
No,
End of
well,
the
yeah.
film.
Let's at least
Okay,
get
sorry.
to the
Yeah,
end.
yeah. Okay.
We haven't covered the end of the film yet.
We have the light
We
blew the
haven't.
doors off and end.
No, because there's stuff that happens after that, babe,
Oh
isn't there?
God, it's like Lord of the Rings. It just never ends. Okay.
Right. So then it's back to that quest for her ring again, isn't it? Because she's like in this deep sleep, isn't she? Yeah.
I don't remember. I'd given up. at this
Okay,
point.
you'd given up by that point.
Well,
I
he
think.
smacked her. Well, one thing I wanted to say too is the one thing that they do with this film is you do feel a little sympathy for darkness.
No.
Nobody does.
No. So this quest for her ring,
Okay.
he goes back
Sorry, no.
to go and dive to get the ring, and then finds the ring, doesn't he? Is that like back to the beginning of the film, as if it had never happened, or has it happened and he's actually gone back out to go and get the ring that she plopped into the
He
river
was
before?
unable to retrieve it because the lake froze over, didn't he? When the
Yeah.
unicorn.
And then
Yeah.
it's now not frozen because all
So-
that stuff's happened. So is it a bit like Back to the Future? Is it they've gone back in time to find the ring again? And I just didn't understand it. And if they didn't go back in time and they've all gone back to the place where they were before, but in real time, she's in different clothes. She's not
I
in
was
her
gonna
black
say that.
gown. So does
You
that
missed that
mean they've
part.
stripped her?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
15, Joe.
grim. And put her in her other clothes.
Yeah, that's what I always think. It's like
I
somebody
don't
took her
understand
clothes
that.
off and put them on.
And then
we
how
missed
come there
that
are two
deleted scene.
unicorns again? Because like they killed one. How I don't
Well, they-
understand it.
All right. Well, I did want to bring up the director's cut. So in the
Okay.
director's cut, they kind of imply like when he kisses Lily and he puts the ring on her and all that crap.
What's the
that
ring on it?
Yeah, puts a ring on it. She wakes up and she says, "I had the most terrible dream," and Jack kind of implies to her that it was a dream. You know,
Like
even though I
Dallas.
don't think
Like Dallas.
like Dallas.
Like Bobby
Yeah.
Ewing in the shower. Yeah.
And I don't like that because that's like kind of like a little cheap, you know,
Yes.
for the audience. I don't think that that's right. But yeah, I mean that's the part I prefer the theatrical one where it's like she knows that Jack had rescued her. It's just anyway. I'm sorry. What were the questions you were asking for? I mean, I know you asked about the clothes.
You have
Yeah,
taken a
somebody
bit. Of,
definitely-
you have taken
Yeah,
a bit of a battering over the last hour and a half, Joe. To be fair.
No, I haven't. I've been successful. I
You
think a
haven't,
lot of
well.
people are on Team Joe and saying, you know what, I love this film.
Well, please
It's a
write
cult
in and say.
classic.
Please
Yeah.
write in if you tell me if you're on Team Joe. Love that. At this point, I should put in the sound of birds cheeping in the morning.
I do think it's a little harsh to criticise the film and, by extension, Joe, when I'm not entirely sure you and Amanda have fully listened to all of the plot and explanation as to why things have happened, because there's no time travel involved in this film. Where's that come from?
Yeah. And there's no, like, we're going to rescue Lily. That's the main goal of the film.
Yeah, but I didn't understand how they were back at the thing again with her
Well,
in
they
different
picked her
clothes.
up, they threw her on the floor, they took her clothes off, they put on her old clothes, and that was that.
Mm.
And then Huey Lewis
Everybody-
comes out singing Power of Love. That's the power of love.
On that note, come on, I think we are now at the end, aren't we?
We are at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do the scores. I don't know. Well, Dom goes last because it is his film. So yeah, I might as well go. I did say I'd had a point on for something. I forgot what it was.
Mia.
Mia Sara. Right, I had a point on. Oh, which has now elevated this film to a 3. It actually
Not all that was elevated.
To be fair, actually, it was. I can never see me even acknowledging this film ever. After this, I'm going to get those memory wipe thing from Men in Black and just go. I've never seen this film.
What did you score Willow? How does this compare to Willow?
I would watch Willow 10 times in a row than I'd ever watch this again.
God.
And I don't like. I'd give Willow. Willow from when I watched it, 8, 9. No, 8. Willow, when I watched it recently, I just felt embarrassed for my family that I'm that having to sit through this. That's a 4. Whereas this is a 2. Oh, it's a 2. It's a 3 or 2. That's me. Amanda, you might as well just follow after me. I mean,
Yeah,
let's get it out of the way and have some positive from Joe.
I'm really sorry, but for me, it's a 2.
Whoa, it's Spinal Tap territory.
And
Like the two were completely.
the only reason why it's got 2 is because Tom Cruise does look quite tasty, and the devil was a bit of a turn on.
And if you had to choose between them, Amanda, I think that's the question we're all wondering about now, isn't it?
Oh, it'd be
Tom
the devil,
Cruise-
wouldn't it?
I'll just park that there.
Oh, it'd be the devil, wouldn't it?
I've gone that
Yeah.
colour before when I had a day at the cricket with no sun cream on, and that's what floats your boat. I can send you some pictures
Did
from
you
that
have
day.
a couple of horns as well?
Yeah, by the end of the
Very
day.
good. Dom will remember when I equally didn't put the cricket cream on at the cricket on a different cricket match, and had to take a day off the next day simply because it was that bad that if I'd gone into it, I'd never have lived it down.
I have actually got photos from that day. My abiding memory of it is when that tramp laughed at you. You know, some guy who was so badly down on his luck that he taken to homelessness and destitution was laughing at you. He had the moral high ground. Yeah, funny.
Anyway, so yeah, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I love this movie. There's so much about it that I like. I like that it's a fantasy. I like the set, which we really didn't talk about, is basically all indoors, which is incredible. I like the musical score. Both of them are very good. And I like that there's 2 different versions. So again, if you are a fan of the theatrical one, the director's cut is kind of like, what would you call it? Like a compendium to it, where I want to see it a little different. It's very similar in ways, but it's also, it could have gone a completely different way, with some of the scenes. And I think that that's fun. Like, it's like watching, say, The Wizard of Oz, and all of a sudden they discovered that there's a longer version, but things are slightly different. It's kind of like, in a way, a bit of history, which I know you'll thumb your nose at,
Right, I love history.
No, I consider this to be history, legend.
I just pity the people that go and watch Top Gun and go, oh my God, that was brilliant. It had planes, it had aircraft carrier, it had Goose, Iceman. Oh, it was wonderful. Let's go and check out his other films. The Get Out Legend, stick it in the VCR and go, what the jiggins is this?
I think I'd prefer to watch Legend over Top Gun. I think
Right,
Top Gun
well-
is just a music video, that took advantage of like the MTV generation.
That sound I may or may not put in is a flat line.
I don't know. I just
You just
had
killed
fun
the podcast, Joe. You just killed it.
No, I did not. I think there's a lot of people that will listen to this and say
The-
maybe they
the-
won't agree with the Top Gun thing, but I
Yes.
think they're going to say I did enjoy.
No.
Legend.
I meant the Top Gun reference. I think you're. I see. Look, I'm passionate about Howard the Duck back to school and things like that, and I realise that I'm on my own on that one. Apart from Amanda, who thinks it's above average, so that's fine.
I'm passionate
Yeah.
about how the duck. That's a sentence that's never previously been uttered in human history. I think that's the first time.
You should go back and listen to our podcast and listen to it very much. Anyway, Dom, your score before we do the draw for the next film.
Oh, I'm just going to say my score was an
Oh
8.
yeah, sorry, Joe. Go for it.
Sorry. 8. Right. Okay.
So I think
8.
from my perspective, that
I'm going to write down Dom's score. Wait a minute. I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper. And then, all right.
So I think there are some glaring issues with this film in terms of editing, pacing, plot development. The execution is simply poor in places, and for me personally, the woodland folk, despite their brilliant prosthetics, etc., go from irritating to excruciating by the end of the film. And I can understand why it kind of kiboshed the fantasy genre for the best part of 10, 15 years upon its release. But, however, I think there's some excellent, memorable scenes in it. I think Tim Curry as the demon is exceptional. And where he tries to seduce the princess, personally, I liked that scene where she dances with the dress. I think that's, shows the film it could have been if Ridley Scott hadn't been on an off day or, wasn't distracted by some of his other projects. And ultimately, what I most enjoyed was revisiting this film and discussing it with the three of you. That's what I'm trying to achieve with all my pods.
Thank you.
And I have no regrets for my choice, but if you push me for a score, I'm afraid, Joe, with all due respect for me, it's a 3.5 out of 10.
Ooh,
Oh.
I thought you were going to be far
That
more
stung.
generous. I put 5.
I thought
I
it'd
thought
be
you-
5.
I thought it was going to be 5 too.
Everything
that was
was
a
5.
sting.
3.5.
I was about to say, 5's okay, Dom, and you're like 3.5. What?
I think it's a below average. Yeah, I think, it's probably the lowest score I've issued since Real Genius. I much prefer it to Real Genius. I think that it truly is trash, but yeah.
Yeah,
What?
Real Genius sucks.
Oh, shut up, you lot. Real Genius is
No, I'm sorry. No, this is probably my Howard the Duck then.
okay.
That's
fine. We all have a Howard the Duck. Speaking of your film choices, Joe, it's all you this time.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's your turn. We thought we were going to do this. I could put all the others in with it if you want, or you can just have your choice. Bearing in mind, if you had a problem with Dom trying to tear it up and be an anarchist by putting this film into the podcast, we've got Joe Stinker coming up. Woo-hoo-hoo!
Is it going to be next?
Might be. Ready? Right. I haven't sellotaped it in, otherwise it would be.
Can we just have a look and just see how many are actually in the hat? And it's not just one. Okay,
Two.
there are still things in
There's
there. Okay,
2.
yeah. All right, cool.
Gryffindor. Sorry, I could not say it.
Right. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't rig it so that it would come out as Joe's Legend version of Legend. But here we go. Oh God, it might be. Oh, thank God. 1989 Batman film. Thank goodness.
All right.
Quality
one
choice
is
there,
that?
Joe. Quality choice.
The Michael Keaton
Okay.
one with Jack Nicholson, the Joker.
Is that got Michelle Pfeiffer in it?
That's Batman
No.
Returns.
Oh, is it got Kim
We can-
Passenger in it?
Yes. I thought we were going to play a game. Has it got Alan Alda in it? Has it got Michael Caine in it?
I thought you was going to say, does it have Catwoman in it? No.
So
does it
it's-
have Michelle Pfeiffer in it? No.
It's got
It's like
Vicky Vale.
guess who?
Vicky Vale, because Prince
Yes.
did the soundtrack.
Oh, exactly. I think this is. I've got to say personally, Joe. I think this is a masterstroke film to pick, and how we haven't done it so far, I don't know. But it's very timely with what's gone on recently with the Flash movie. So yeah, yeah, a great choice. Can't wait.
Have
Even
any
though-
of you seen The Flash?
I haven't, no.
apart from
No.
me? No.
I've seen it. I actually don't think it's as bad as what people are making it out to be.
No, it's not a good film, but it's not a bad film either.
Yeah.
So yes, plenty to talk about. Well, I don't know if I need to click this podcast contains explicit material, but I think we skirted around it enough.
There was a couple of S-bombs, some reference to rings, to
I think
horns.
that's all right. I think that's fine. We were talking about unicorns, obviously.
Objectifying 15-year-old girls. Oh, wholesome family entertainment.
Yeah, but we didn't know. All right, okay. Oh, God, that sounds like a really, really poor defense, isn't it? Look, it's just in the context of, all right, YouTube algorithm, I'll take you on.
How many nuns are listening to this podcast?
Well, I think, well, let's end it there.
They're currently all praying for Amanda's soul after her controversial assessment of the devil earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Infatuation,
That's true. That may just like if one is on a deathbed and she's like, oh, I want to put that Russian junk on and they're doing one of my favorite movies, Legend.
Is it the goblin
like,
back again?
No, don't go with Satan, no.
Yeah,
Dear
it's much
me.
more fun.
How can we, well, we just have to end the podcast. Can I, before I go, write to us, everyone. We'd love you to write to us. Just get in touch on,
On a postcard?
No, write a message to us on Facebook
comment
Messenger.
on YouTube.
Or comment on YouTube. People do. Wall Street took off. Wall Street was brilliant, and I do apologise for those watching on YouTube, where you get the latest one for Wall Street. That's me trying to do a YouTube short, and I know it wasn't good, but I'm learning.
I liked it.
Well, I know the editing was okay, but we should have been able to at least see people, which would have been probably a good thing, rather than little dots, things like pixelated characters. Might as well be Mario. Anyway, I will get better at that. I will. So, 2 weeks' time, we'll be doing Batman. I can't wait. I've got the 4K version, sweetheart, so we can watch it in wonderful 4K.
Thank you.
Excellent. Right. After that, where do we go apart from just saying goodbye? So I'm going to say cheerio. Wait a minute. Right. We do this we need to get, we need to have some sort of system in this, because it's always me saying cheerio, and then there's a gap of about 20 years until somebody goes, is it me? Or if I say it now, am I going to say it at the same time as somebody else?
Well, I always go last.
Well, we still have to work out who's going to go next.
Yeah, it's me or Dom.
Right, so I think
bun fights between the boys then.
Right, I'll say cheerio, then it's you, Joe, then it's you, Dom.
Are you keeping us in, by the way?
Yeah, what the hell?
Oh yeah. I think people love the erratic nature of this podcast. I don't think they listen to it for the slick editing. I don't think they come here for the. I mean, we've only very rarely taken things out.
Somebody's just put the boot into Ridley Scott over his editing. You're on thin ice here, I think, Charlie.
Yes, but I'm learning. Anyway,
Okay.
Right, come on then. So go for it.
Okay,
go.
right. Okay, so cheerio.
Adios, amigos.
Have you the same?
Oh, good Lord. Right. Doodle pip.
Bye.